Wherever I go, you go. Some of the last words uttered by Kiernan Forbes, known professionally as eNCA. The 35-year-old rapper was gunned down outside a restaurant on Florida Road in Durban last night. KZN Police spokesperson Robert Netshiunda is on the scene. Let's cross over to him now for the latest. Thank you so much, Colonel, for your time this morning. Can you please just confirm what you found at the scene of the crime upon arrival?
Thank you for having us. When we arrived here last night, we found two lifeless bodies of a 35-year-old prominent musician and another 34-year-old man who were shot and killed. That's what we found when we arrived, and we had to deal with a crowd of people who wanted to get a piece of them, pictures and all those things. So it was a bit chaotic, but we managed to control the situation.
Colonel, can we confirm that it was indeed a drive-by shooting?
What we have gathered so far is that the musician and his friend were walking out of the restaurant when two assailants walked on foot from across the street, approached them and shot them from close range, and also went back across the street on foot and disappeared into darkness. So there is no mention of a drive-by shooting, but that the police were not discarding anything. We are obtaining different statements so that we can investigate.
Are there any witnesses that can attest to what you have uncovered thus far? Because that is a very serious developing story here. So it was not drive-by. It was, from what you understand, two assailants that approached these two people who were outside of the restaurant, shot them at close range, and then obviously proceeded back on foot. Were there any witnesses around?
Yeah, there were witnesses around, and we have spoken to a few of them in our preliminary investigation. That's why we have come to have this knowledge that the two were killed by two suspects who walked towards them from across the street and shot them from close range.
Colonel, what about CCTV footage? Is there CCTV footage alongside Florida Road, particularly covering the part of these restaurants, so that you are able to get a better understanding of the events that led to the shooting of these two gentlemen, and also perhaps be able to assist in your investigation in being able to identify who these gentlemen were actually?
Looking at the buildings close to where the matter happened, yes, there are physical CCTV cameras that we can see, but our investigators will be able to get in touch with those responsible and possibly get the footage and study the footage for us to be in a better position to understand what had happened, because the motive of the killing is not yet known, and once we have made arrests, maybe then we'll be able to establish what could have led to the shooting. Because at this point, the police, we don't want to speculate whether it was a hit or one of those violent crimes that we have experienced in the past. We are investigating widely to get as much information as we can.
Yeah. Colonel, was anything taken from the two victims who were shot? I mean, you don't want to speculate whether or not it was a hit, but usually if it's a robbery, some things are taken, a cell phone, wallet, money, cash, whatever it is. Do we at this moment know if anything of the actual victims was actually taken?
As the police, we experience different types of crime scenes. There are planned organized crime. That after the shooting or before the shooting, certain items will be taken from the victims. And there are those crime scenes where there will only be a shooting and nothing was taken. From what we have gathered so far, the assailants only opened fire and left without taking anything from the deceased. But simply because it's only a few hours after the incident had happened, maybe after viewing the footage and further investigations, more information will be unearthed and we could probably see what happened exactly.
Colonel, we just had a conversation right now with the response team, the medical response team that were on the scene, whilst you were obviously just trying to gather some kind of information at the scene of the crime. Garrett spoke of a possible third individual who was shot and wounded and had to be taken to a facility. Can we confirm that indeed there was another third individual who was shot, wounded, and was taken away?
Our initial investigations only talk about 2 people who were fatally wounded on the scene of crime. We have not gathered any information about a third victim who was taken or rushed to any health facility. But we will not like to discard that because between us arriving to the scene and the actual incident, there could have been that, but what we know as the police is only 2 victims who were fatally wounded.
Yeah. Colonel, will you be taking this up forward? Because, as I said, when medical response arrived on the scene of the crime, he could not confirm, but he did say that what they are aware of is a third individual who was shot and wounded. So has there been that kind of communication with perhaps the medical response team? I mean, as you know, they are very close to what is happening simply because of the work that they need to be able to do to try to save a life. Has there been that communication to try to establish whether or not indeed there was another person who was shot and wounded and had to be taken away?
We work closely with them because at crime scenes where there's been shootings, stabbings, they need to come and do their job. So we will still be in touch with them because every document that we produce at the scene of crime also involves them as important stakeholders. So maybe as and when we engage further with them, details of the third victim that has been spoken about will surface, and we will be able to confirm if the victim was part of the 2 who were shot and killed.
Also, reports initially had surfaced saying that AKA had been shot with his bodyguard. From the medical response team, we also understand that is not the case. Indeed, it was a close friend of Kiernan Forbes. Can you now confirm that as the SAPS?
The identity of the deceased, apart from the prominent musician, has been identified as yes, but we as the police at this stage do not know his relationship with the musician, and would not want to be in that space where we can confirm or deny whether he was a friend or whatever. But for now, of concern to us is that a gruesome murder happened, and we need to now investigate and try and get to the bottom of what led to the shooting and who is behind the shooting.
How common is this, Colonel?
Pardon?
How common is it that we see allegations and reports of shootings, particularly in eThekwini?
I would not like to talk about how common it is, but yes, of late we have experienced a few incidents of shootings in the province. And we will not want to confirm if it's common or not. We take each incident as it comes, and we treat it in its own merit, so that we do not get derailed in the investigations. Yes, people will think of a shooting in KwaMashu, shooting in Wentworth, and maybe like to conclude that it's very common. But as the police, we treat each incident as it happens, so that we do not classify them as one or be carried away into believing that the modus operandi is the same.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, as we know that within every quarter we have got the Minister of Police that has to table the crime stats of the country, and in that, obviously, there has to be an account of what crimes take place when the spikes, whether it's robbery, whether it's murder with intent, premeditated murder, and the like. So obviously, this gets included when it comes to the statistics. And the reason why I ask regarding frequency or commonality is because then we have to be able to establish with that frequency or commonality, how often do we have the perpetrators brought to book? When I mean brought to book, I mean wearing orange overalls, sitting behind bars, thinking about their sins. Do we have that? I mean, do we have a high case and a prevalence of people being arrested, prosecuted, and also sent to incarceration because of this crime? This type of one where you were saying that the assailants approached the victims, shot, and then walked away.
We have in the past made arrests on cases where people have been shot and killed, and we have records of people who have been prosecuted and sent to jail for a lengthy period. We have the capacity in the police to investigate and arrest and convict with evidence. So yes, like I said before, when a crime has happened, we call together all the relevant people who must come to the crime scene, process the crime scene, talk to whoever we need to talk to, follow the list that we have. And we have in the past made several breakthroughs. That's why we're also confident with this one, that with the capacity that we have, we will be able to make a breakthrough.
Lieutenant, let me release you. Lieutenant Colonel Robert Netshiunda, much appreciated for your time this morning and for giving us a little bit further details regarding this developing story of the murder of AKA, as well as what we've come to know, another individual who has been identified as somebody who's close, or was close rather, to the deceased.